Welcome to the shit show. Every single day, a new flavor of fuckery. Cause everybody sucks, you see, and they're dumber than a bag of clots. Monday, bullshit. Tuesday, bullshit. Wednesday, hey, what the fuck? And then 4 more days of increasingly stupid, ridiculous, ignorant, boulder, dash, poppycock, bollocks, and fuckery. Yeah, it all over again.
Meow meow to everyone. Hello to Putin Cat, and hello to lovely Lady Mist. I hope everybody's doing okay today. Got a few things lined up. A little more than I expected. And I've tried to keep it mostly domestic this time, because I know who I always go after. And it's so intertwined into our country's government that it's hard not to. But I've tried to some extent. There's going to be some in there, but it's not going to be the whole thing. Hello, Mr. CCDV. How are you? Have not heard from you in ages. Glad to see you here. All right. Present screen. We're going to get into it. All right. Kids are talking outside the door, sorry. Lebanon's ceasefire could bring down Iran's mullahs. I'm actually not sure what that means. I think it means like a leader, but we're going to go find out real quick because I don't know. A Muslim learned in Islamic ideology and sacred law. Oh, okay. Well, it's an honorific title for Muslim clergy and mosque leaders. Oh, okay. The Lebanon ceasefire could bring down Iran's clergy? That seems odd. That seems like I don't know, like, I thought it was militants that were problems, not the clergy, but okay. Whatever, I guess. Anyway, the ceasefire agreed between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. And thankfully, they're separating them and not making it interchangeable. Lebanon is good news for not just because it promised to bring the terrible bloodshed of the past few months to an end, it also represents a major setback for Iran, the primary backer of the Lebanese terrorist group that provoked the conflict in the first place. Oh, for heaven's sake. In the first place, by maintaining a continual missile barrage against civilians in northern Israel. So why is it only matters when Israel civilians get hit, but not when other civilians get hit? That seems like shit to me. Anyway, as the key backer of Hezbollah and Hamas, responsible for causing a year-long hostilities in the Middle East, Iran has a great deal to answer for. Reluctant to engage the Israelis in direct war, they know they are certain to lose. That is not entirely correct. The Ayatollah's preferred modus operandi is to finance and equip Islamist groups to do their dirty work. We do that too. I mean, we don't use Islamist groups to do shit. Well, I mean, we did create Al-Qaeda, actually. But no, we use things like Blackwater, or whatever the fuck it is they go by now. They tried to do that name change, but it never really stuck. Everybody just remembers them from Blackwater, you know? We do similar shit anyway. We always send our troops to go do someone else's dirty work all the time. It's so weird how we look down on other people when our government does similar things. Hezbollah's decision, taken in the immediate aftermath of Hamas's deadly assault on Israel on October 7th, to launch its own bombardment against civilian communities in northern Israel. A few live streams back, I showed y'all that was not true. In fact, Hezbollah actually asked, hey, Hamas, do you want us to help you out? And they said, and Hamas actually refused their help. So the throwing missiles back and forth didn't happen until much later. I showed y'all that like a month or so ago. But that's why we're here. We like to break stuff down and find out what's wrong with shit. Let's see. Indicating Foursquare behind Hamas without having to involve itself directly in the conflict. Well, you know. Hezbollah's ability to maintain its steady bombardment against Israel for the best part of a year was due to the constant supply of arms provided by Tehran, with most of the weaponry making its way to southern Lebanon, courtesy of the Syrian regime of Bashir al-Assad, Iran's closest ally in the region. And where does Syria get its weapons? But you know what? Whatever. I honestly, most of the time, I always figure it's this fucking deep state shit funding both sides of the conflict anyway. It's what they do. But I also have another article because that correlates this, because I want us to look at the comparison of how they twist the headlines. So the Lebanon ceasefire could bring down Iran's clergy, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but whatever. Now, another one's, wait a minute, this is this is not... Oh, Israeli flag taken down and set on fire at Aita al-Shab as Hezbollah's victory sparks defiance. So some people see it as Israel, you know, is doing good, but allowed a ceasefire, and others are saying it's because Lebanon is doing good. Because the news is going to lie to us. So we got to look at different articles on the same shit to try to figure out what part is actually true. I feel like I need to go check this real quick. Let me see. Good evening. Let's see. Yeah, I started working at Northern Arizona University. I've not had time for YouTube. Oh, what you doing over there? That sounds cool. Nah. But, let's see. The terror folks show Israel as bad guy. We know... Do we know better, though? Because, alright, so here's a couple of things to look at. Alright, so Israel is super involved in our government, which no foreign country should be involved in our government. Not any of them. I wouldn't care if it was fucking Ireland. It has no business being intertwined into our government. But since they are, if they were such the good guys, this is just one example, and they're paying so much money into the pockets of our politicians, why aren't they, since they're funding them, why aren't they having our politicians do us right? Why are they not doing more to, you know, make sure our politicians abide by the Constitution and to treat its citizens and its veterans and its homeless better? So they don't. They control them for their own goods and their own ends. You know, this is, you know, Kennedy wanted them to register as a foreign agent, and they refused to do it. And then 3 weeks later, Kennedy's killed. They shot and killed some of our people in 1967 on the USS Liberty. Anytime there's a fucking conflict, they call us in to help them, but they never come and help us with anything. I mean, there might be one or two people who do, but Israel as a whole does not. If they were a bunch of good people over there, they wouldn't want to be involved in our government. They would believe in our right of sovereignty. They don't. And terrorist is a heck of a label, because honestly, that's usually what the big army calls a small army. Do not forget that the same people, like our government, who are calling Muslims terrorists are the same ones that want to call veterans terrorists. Because remember, there's that operation, was it Vigilant Eagle, who wants to label all veterans as terrorists. They want to start profiling and labeling terrorist parents who raise a ruckus at their school board meetings because, you know, the teachers are doing fucked up shit with the students and the education. They like to call anyone a terrorist who goes against the status quo. So, considering that, you know, veterans could be considered a homegrown terrorist by our government, I don't trust how our government labels terrorists. And we can't pretend for 1 second that our CIA and a bunch of other fuckers in the government haven't started a whole bunch of shit in general. But we love you, CCDD. Yeah. Alright. So, I'll play this. I'll do it with the sound off, because I don't want to get, like, copyright hit. But I'll make the captions big enough that we can see what's being said. And this, I do want to also say, the difference between the ceasefire here in Lebanon and a potential ceasefire in Gaza is that the people in Lebanon have more weapons and are able to defend themselves. The citizens and civilians in Gaza do not have any way to protect themselves. That's why there's so many people dead, including women and children. Because you can never trust a government if you yourself are not armed. I feel like that. I mean, I know they don't have I'm sure they have the concept of a Second Amendment, even if they don't have one. The idea of being able to arm and protect yourself. But yeah, that is probably why Lebanon has gotten a ceasefire faster, and hopefully it lasts faster than Gaza. They're still tearing through Gaza. It's because Gaza wasn't able to fight back. Because Gaza is a very small little strip of land, and Lebanon is much bigger. Because I see what governments do to people who are unarmed. And that's why I would never ever support people not having a weapon to protect themselves. And they say normalcy and defiance. That's so wild. But think about this. It says the removal of an Israeli flag from the Al-Shabaab's water tank. So apparently, first off, I don't actually see remnants of a flag in there, but let's pretend that it is a flag. Because, this could be just some stuff to inflame people who are in favor of Israel. But why would Israel have their flag on another country's water tank? You know what I mean? That's just like them trying to mark territory that is not theirs. I mean, if somebody from another country came to your town and put their flag on your water tower, one of y'all would take it down. I know you would. I would too. They're just replaying the same shit over and over, it seems. Same footage, same guy on the bike and everything. Residents have the ceasefire which brought an end to the conflict in the region. Yeah, a lot of kids are putting up peace signs. I'd be happy too. I wouldn't want people. I'd be glad that bombing stopped. And I'm surprised they didn't have some kind of footage or clip, an old clip of somebody of militants running around with weapons. I'm surprised they didn't. Oh, okay, actually, there's a guy back there that does have a gun, but they could be just like a neighborhood watch type thing where they're making sure the streets are safe and there's no riots or anything. I've seen that here in America where like something goes on and so like people who are like part of like kind of I don't want to say a militia, but like oftentimes it's retired military like a watch, like when there's hurricanes or whatever. They oftentimes are out there with guns to make sure there's no looting or riots. So ceasefire calls for an initial 2-month halt to the fighting and requires Hezbollah to end its armed presence in southern Lebanon. Yeah, they said they don't want them going past the Litany River. The Litany River goes to halfway through at the halfway point of Lebanon, Lebanon, and goes all the way down, like zigzaggy down to the border of Israel. So when they say they don't want them going south past the Litany River, like where at the Litany River? And again, unless somebody's right on the border is fucking with them, I don't feel they have any business telling somebody what part of another country they can be in. I believe borders are important. Oh yeah, let's see. The ceasefire began at 4 a.m. on Wednesday, a day after Israel carried out its most intense wave of airstrikes. So yeah, so just before the ceasefire was called, they fucking bomb the shit out of those people, which I think is kind of crap thing to do. Like if it looks like a peaceful time is coming up, then fucking act like it. They're just trying to squeeze in as much destruction as they can before they're, the ceasefire. I think that's kind of a shit thing, honestly. But so yeah, in this article, Lebanon is seeing it as a victory, and here they're making it to where it sounds like it's beneficial to someone other than Lebanon to have it happen. So anyway, next articles. Some local stuff now. GOP senator. Americans don't care about FBI background checks for Trump appointee or nominees. All right, so the reason why that is the last time we were doing this, they were talking about how when a new administration is going to come in, they have to basically sign agreements that they're going to abide by the Constitution, sign documents about transparency, sign those documents, and then you submit yourself to an FBI background check. Well, the Trump administration is not wanting to do this. Now, granted, I don't trust the FBI generally. I don't. And somebody from the live stream last night brought that up. And I agree. I do get that. But, at the same time, if you have an important job, you have to expect a background check from somebody. Like, if I want to go work at the county jail, I need to go get an Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation background check. You know what I mean? So obviously for going to office, I expect there to be some transparency, and you can't claim there's going to be any transparency if you're not even willing to submit your people to a background check. Especially after the Matt Gaetz thing, or Matt Getz, whatever you call him, thing, where he had to withdraw his, where he was going to be appointed because he had a bunch of, underage girl shit going on. And he and his friends fought like hell to not have this ethics committee report released, and that's not good, man. That is a real mess. In fact, I'll remind you what Marjorie Taylor Greene was saying the other day, back November the 19th, about wanting to protect Matt Gaetz's file from being released. If we're going to release ethics reports and rip apart our own that Trump has appointed, then put it all out there for the American people to see. I agree with that. All your sexual harassment and assault claims that were secretly settled, paying off victims with taxpayer money. The entire Jeffrey Epstein list, tapes, recordings, witness interviews. But not just those. There's more. Epstein isn't the only asset. That's kind of weird that you would refer to Epstein as an asset. And the wasn't and isn't. If someone is dead, then they're a wasn't. If they're alive, then it's an isn't. You know what I'm saying? So that one still fucking bugs me every time I look at it. So I've been saving it here because it fucking bugs me. But Epstein isn't the only asset. We're going to dance. Let's dance in the sunlight. And that was her response to them wanting to release Matt Gaetz's ethics committee report about him. How bad is he that she had to come out here and pretty much, put the business out there like this? It's the fact that she knows that our politicians have been paying off assault victims with taxpayer money. And it sounds like she's got the Epstein list, tapes, recordings, interviews. I feel like we should be focused on that, because there's been, things said about the Epstein list, and the reason why it wasn't released is because they are the Epstein list. Well, fuck. Sounds like Miss Taylor Greene knows who they are, but she don't say nothing. That bothers me. So the fact that this GOP senator is saying Americans don't care about FBI background checks, bitch, yes I do. Yes I do. Every fucking one of them. Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee, who is rumored to be on Trump's short list to serve as Treasury Secretary, said that most Americans don't care whether Trump uses the FBI to vet his nominees, something fellow Republican senators have demanded. Well, I demand it as well. Hagerty argued over the weekend that it doesn't make a difference to most Americans whether the FBI or an independent firm conducts those background checks as a nominee. Well, what independent firm would they be using exactly? That's what I want to know. Because they sound like in another article they were going to be vetting themselves. And that's so goofy. Such as Pete Hegseth, Trump's choice to serve as Secretary of Defense, whom a woman accused of sexual assault in 2017. No charges were filed against Hegseth. Oh, so, like, I figured they were upset about his Knights Templar tattoo. Now they've moved on to that, I guess. I don't think the American public cares who does the background checks. What the American people care about is to see the mandate that they voted and delivered upon. We need to get to work again. Making our military stronger is absolutely critical, and I think we're looking at a chance to do this. I didn't know our military wasn't strong. I mean, clearly it must be, because we're sending so much fucking money, soldiers, and weapons to another couple of countries that I've already bitched about, that, like, I assumed we had plenty to spare, so I assume our military is quite strong. If it's not, then it's our country's own fucking fault. Excuse me. Alright, let's see. If you're looking at the cabinets that's in place right now, that's the worst we've ever seen. I agree with that, too. Referring to the President Biden's campaign and signaling out Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas as the worst cabinet secretary in history. They're all fucking trash. Biden's cabinet from top to bottom is fucking trash. Definitely no doubt about that. Other Senator Republicans, however, say the FBI should retain its leading role in conducting background checks. Senator Joni Ernst, a Republican from Ohio, a member of the Armed Services Committee, says the FBI background checks of the Hegseth would be helpful. Republican lawmakers who want the FBI to continue to play a central role in vetting nominees argue the nation's top domestic law enforcement agency has access to criminal investigations on the federal, state, and local levels that private firms can't match. That I agree with that. The FBI should... Someone sent me a message. Oh, no, it's just a notification for something. Never mind. The FBI should do background checks, in my judgment, said Susan Collins, Republican of Maine. The incoming chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee and the senior member of the Senate Intelligence Committee told The Hill earlier this month. Senator Kramer, Republican of North Dakota. It took me a second to recognize what that was. North Dakota, a member of the Senate Arms Committee, argued that the FBI should take the lead in investigating nominees. Though he said private firms could help the Bureau's work. Yeah, I mean, they could help, sure. In fact, have both do it. Have the FBI and private firm both do it. That way, you're making sure there's no shenanigans going on. That way the FBI has someone kind of looking over their shoulder, making sure they do the right thing. So yeah, I think both would be a good idea, actually. If you want to supplement it with private firm, I'd say, okay, oh, well, they're saying the same thing. But the FBI does have access to information that probably private firms don't have. Even a really good, savvy one. I agree. The Trump transition team has not entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Justice to allow the FBI to conduct background checks of nominees. And it hasn't sent the FBI the names of prospective national security personnel who would have access to classified information. See, I think that's kind of important. Because, I mean, at this point, Trump and his people have already been dragged through the mud. So what the hell is the FBI going to find now that they wouldn't have found already? You know what I mean? Because, honestly, nobody should be in office who can't pass a background check. So people like Matt Gaetz and some of the others, like, if they are in a position where they can be in this, then they should have already had a background check. That's my opinion of it. So, yeah. Next article. Trump officials to receive immediate clearances and easier FBI vetting. See, that's fucking weird. Like, how do you get an easier FBI vetting? If you have shit in your background, you do. If you don't, you don't. You know what I mean? But let me get a drink real quick. Donald Trump's transition team is planning for all cabinet picks to receive sweeping security clearances from the president-elect, only face FBI background checks after the incoming administration takes over the Bureau and its own officials are installed in key positions. Now, tell me if that doesn't sound suspicious. Now, pretend that Donald Trump's name's not here. Let's see. Let's pretend Donald Trump's name is not there. Imagine this is any other elected position. If so-and-so's transition team is planning for all cabinet picks to receive sweeping clearances and only face background checks after these nominees are already in key positions of power. Think about that. Because it's harder to get someone out of office than it is to stop them from getting into office. So, let's say this was Obama. Let's say this isn't Trump. Let's say this was Obama. Obama's transition team is planning for all cabinet picks to get sweeping clearances from the president-elect and only face FBI background checks after the incoming administration takes over the bureau. Takes over the bureau. Right there. Takes over the bureau. So basically, they want to wait till after they have the job so they can pretend to vet themselves. I have an issue with this. Then you might as well not do the FBI background check at all. Because they're going to decide what they want the public to know about. And that's the problem I have with politicians in general. That's sneaky. I don't trust anybody who does that. Now, I've never been one to jump on the never Trump train. I never have. That is not something anybody has ever heard me say. But I can't help but see what I'm seeing here, and that doesn't look good. The move appears to mean that Trump's team will continue to skirt FBI vetting and may not receive classified briefings until Trump is sworn in on 20th of January and unilaterally grants sweeping clearances across the administration. That's a fucking terrible idea. Trump's team has regarded the FBI background checks process with contempt for months. The way they say that does sound kind of petty, the way they're saying it. I hate when people add the word contempt. A product of their deep distrust of the Bureau ever since officials turned over transition records to Russia investigation during the Trump presidency. I don't doubt that he has distrust of the FBI. The FBI is shady motherfuckers. Every time some stupid shit, some fucking terrorist situation happens in America, they had something to do with it. I don't blame him for not trusting them. But, I also don't trust anybody who's trying to hide their background from the American public. But delaying the FBI vetting could also bring... I don't know what that word is, so I'm going to go look at that word. Providing support to the primary activities or operation. Okay. So it could also bring ancillary PR benefits for the Trump team if some political appointees run into problems during the background check, which could upend their Senate confirmation process, or if they struggle to obtain security clearances once in the White House. See, but that's my issue, though. Like, if you're not doing shady shit, then shady shit won't show up in your background check. You know what I mean? The punitive process for obtaining a clearance in the first Trump administration involved the White House's Personal Security Office relying on the FBI background checks to decide whether to grant one. The background check initially looked for untrustworthiness or red flags that could be exploited by adversaries. And I think that's important. We don't want weaknesses that can be exploited by adversaries. We don't want that. If the initial checks against law enforcement databases uncover no issues, applicants were granted an interim clearance while deeper investigations continued until it's advanced to a permanent clearance. The current Trump plan appears to bypass that initial stage. The Trump-Vance transition lawyers continue to constructively engage with the Biden-Harris lawyers regarding all agreements contemplated by the Presidential Transition Act. We will update you once a decision is made, Trump spokesman Brian Hughes said in a statement. Trump's team have long viewed the process with suspicion, arguing that it was pointless to have government employees have the ability to recommend against granting a security clearance, giving Trump the power as president to ultimately give clearances to whoever he likes. Trump himself has repeatedly rallied against the FBI as part of the deep state. I don't doubt that they're part of the deep state. That's why I think the FBI and a private firm should both, you know, work on the background check. But I also don't think that anybody should be in these positions to be appointed without having one first. Like, they shouldn't have even been able to get into the Capitol and get into the positions they had prior to this without a background check. You know what I mean? This is something that should have been an ongoing. And again, I want to hear about these motherfuckers. I want to hear that. I want to hear about all these ethics reports. I want to hear about all of them. I want to know who's the dirty motherfucker and have them tossed out. Beat up, jailed, whatever's necessary. I want that. And I mean, I do agree that Trump says that the FBI is part of the deep state. Of course they are. I have no doubt. But Trump's pick of people is kind of fucking strange. So, you know. Alright, let me go see everybody for a minute. Alright. Oh, hello, Frosty Broccoli. Alright. Let's see. My first shot my first 20-pound turkey. Banned from Walmart. Well, applaud to you as well. Okay, this will be the last time I make that joke. I think it's hilarious. I love it. It's the first time I've seen it. You shot a dead and packaged turkey. Wow. Well, it's not very well packaged anymore. Find a corner and get your murdering little package killing button. Oh, let's see. Meow, Frosty Broccoli. How are you? Welcome. So glad you're here. It's not quite a political live stream unless you're nearby. She's only mad because she didn't get on Trump's list. Oh, she felt, well, I mean, I'm sure she's a little salty for that, but I'm sure she's still taking lots of good lobby money and bribes from her little friends, so I'm sure she'll be fine. We want to play ball, but we need to take over the league and rewrite. Exactly! That's my fucking problem with it. I mean, I do understand both sides of it. I do. I understand that the background check needs to be done, but I also understand the distrust of the FBI, because I don't trust any three-letter agencies generally. Not DHS, not CPS, not ATF, not FBI, certainly not CIA. Fucking none of them. Fuck all of those motherfuckers. Had to be a background check just to do my job in the army, right? What are they afraid will come out? Exactly. Exactly. Because, I mean, I don't know what you did in the military, but, like, whatever you did in the military, and I'm sure it was cool. Like, it's not, you know, these are people in a public office. They're going to be determining our lives. And they think that they should, just be able to vet themselves, but you didn't? You weren't able to vet yourself? You had to subject yourself to that? And their job involves the lives of everyone. So they definitely fucking should. If you had to, they definitely should. But then, I think you mean moles. Like Snowden getting to live in Russia. Does he live in Russia? I don't think he does. I think he lives in like Iceland or some shit. I don't remember where the fuck he lives actually. And appeared on TED Talks I like Snowden. I do. I actually like Snowden because him and Assange were trying to expose the dirty shit our government was doing. Which, you know. And of course the government's gonna try to make him sound like a terrorist. That's what the government does. It fucking lies. They're like, oh no, someone snitched on us. Let's say all kinds of bad shit about them so people won't believe them. It's what they do. I almost always will believe the little guy over the government first. Meow, lovely Sherry. So glad to see you. It's been a while. I'm so glad you are here. Alright, let's get back to this real quick. Seeing opportunity under Trump, some settlers hope, and settlers is what they call Israelis who are trying to sneak over to like area that they're not supposed to be in and steal land and beat up farmers and take their houses and shit and set fire to their crops. Those are what the settlers are. Seeing opportunity under Trump, some settlers hope to take over the West Bank, holy site. Yeah, so as everybody knows, the Palestinians were supposed to be given Gaza and the West Bank, and now they're trying to take that too. So, but I think we knew that already. Tens of thousands of Jewish worshippers arrived this past weekend at the tomb of the patriarchs in the West Bank's Hebron for the annual pilgrimage. They filled the streets and alleys of the Kiryat Abba settlement and the Jewish enclave in Hebron. Put up a city of tents and caravans, slept in schools and synagogues, and were hosted by residents. 10 teenagers slept on my balcony in sleeping bags, freezing in the cold. Kiryat Abba Mayor Israel Bramson said. The occasion marked the Sabbath of the Sabbat, in which the annual Torah portion recited at synagogues featured the story of biblical Abraham's purchase of that burial site to bury his wife, the matriarch Sarah. Some of the youth who attended the pilgrimage tried to attack the head of the IDF Central Command, Major General Avi Bluth. Yeah, so, yes. Some of these people are so wild, they'll even attack their own soldiers and their own people. It's so fucking wild. A lot of them are just kind of feral. I'm gonna be honest. Like, if you're on a pilgrimage and you're just kind of doing your thing, and you just start attacking your own military, that's so weird. Like, don't get me wrong, I hate the IDF. Fuck them. But it's just so bizarre to see them try to eat their own. You know what I mean? It's so strange. Like, they're so disgruntled, they don't even like each other. It's bizarre. Honestly, but yeah, apparently they attacked, or tried to attack, the head of the IDF Central Command at a nearby intersection, calling him a traitor and blocking his way. Wow. Quite a few ministers came for the Sarah Sabbat in Hebron. I'm gonna just use the words I know. Including National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir. Fuck, I hate that guy. I bitch about him every time I see him in a news article. So, like, military service is mandatory in Israel. Everybody from 18 to 21 has to be in. You can be in for longer if you want, but that's your mandatory. And he is so fucking unhinged. He could not pass his psyche vow, and he was excluded from military service. Like, that's how off-kilter this guy is. Anyway, Itamar Ben-Gvir and National Missions and Settlement Minister Orit Strock, I guess, who are residents. Others in attendance included Finance Minister Smolarek. He's an evil fucker. Heritage Minister Amakai Elihu, which I have never heard of that person. Health Minister Uriel Busso. Religious Service Minister Michael Malachi, I think that's what it is. Minister in the Finance Ministry, Zev Elkin, and Intelligence Minister Gila Gamler? Gamwell? I don't know how to say that. The latter has attended the annual event for 15 years. So they look like lovely kids with their little middle fingers up there. Flipping off cameras and just being like a little pilgrimage of pricks. This military guy, he looks like he has no idea. He's like, what in the fuck is wrong with these kids? But yeah, this one looks like he's whistling pretty loud. These kids are flipping off the camera. Such a lovely bunch of people on the fucking pilgrimage. Maybe pilgrimage means something different for them, because usually religious people go on pilgrimages, and usually it's like, you know, they're reading a holy book and just kind of chanting and praying along. Yeah, these kids are running around like they're going from one frat party to another. Look at those moral people. Lovely. The talk of the town among the ministers was the possibility of changing the status quo at Hebron's tomb of the patriarchs. And thus, under the radar and against the backdrop of the war in Gaza, the ceasefire in Lebanon, and Donald Trump's victory in the U.S. elections, a new volatile reality is being forged in one of the holiest and most sensitive sites in the Middle East. Someone named Barak Goldstein. I don't know who he is, but maybe we'll know more about him in a minute, because there must be a reason why they have that picture up. Tomb of the Patriarchs, known to Muslims as the Ibrahim Mosque, has known numerous bloody clashes between Jews and Arabs throughout history. The most notorious of which was committed... Oh, yeah, that's who he is. This guy's a mass murderer. A mass shooter. Alright, so, the most notorious of which is a massacre committed at the site in 1994 by a Jewish terrorist, Barak Goldstein, in which 29 Muslim worshippers were murdered. Yeah, he just, like, went into a mosque while they were, like, down and praying, and just started lighting them up, and just started shooting everybody. Women, children, didn't fucking matter. He was shooting everybody. It was crazy. After that incident, a state commission of inquiry headed by former Supreme Court President Meir Shamgar set to an arrangement to divide the site between the Jews and the Arabs. The main prayer space, known as the Centaphs of Isaac and Rebecca, is open only to Muslims for all days of the year except for 10 days of the holidays when Jews use it, including the Sarah Sabbat. Jews are allowed to pray in other spaces all year during certain hours of the day, including the main yard, the centaphs of Abraham and Sarah, Jacob, and Leah, except on several Muslim holidays. The entire site is located in an area of Hebron where security control is fully Israel. The minister told us there will be many surprises in the near future. Bramson, the local council chief, told the Times of Israel's Hebrew language sister site, Zaman Yisrael. They promised significant developments. It is clear to everyone that the situation at the Tomb of the Patriarchs is absurd. An Arab can pray at the Isaac Hall in the cave under a roof. Why can't I pray there? Well, they seem like they have it divided up pretty good, so I don't know why they're being this way. Why am I outside under the open sky and he is inside? That's not always the case. But, okay. The Shamgar Commission set arrangements for the Goldstein massacre. They wanted to get back at the Jews after all that happened, Bromson contended. It's been 30 years. The world is changing. According to Jewish tradition, the Tomb of the Patriarchs is considered the property of the Jewish people after the site was purchased by Abraham. Oh, for fuck's sake. However, the current horrible reality is Palestinians are the official owners of the site, with the Islamic... I don't know what that word is. I've never seen that. Wabwith, I guess, controlling it, and the Hamas-linked Muslim City Council of Hebron sharing authority over the managing site. For fuck's sake, everything they don't like is fucking Hamas. Like, come the fuck on. Are you serious right now? Jewish people would be getting fucking massacred if it was actually Hamas-linked and Hamas is what they said. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's being fucking silly. Come on now. And they're saying it belongs to them because somebody who's Jewish bought it 3,000 years ago. Are you kidding me? Now, the ancient traditions are a reawakening in Hebron. As the next U.S. administration shapes up to be distinctly pro-Israel, yeah, I've noticed, the right wing sees what may be a unique opportunity to take over all the site's prayer spaces. So basically they want to kick the Muslims out from being able to pray in those spaces and have them pray somewhere else. And they want to take over all the site's prayer spaces. All the sites. That's kind of fucking shitty. Wow. Can you imagine if, like, some people came in and kicked you out of your church and told you had to go pray somewhere else? You'd be pissed. So fucking crappy. MK, Avicha Baran of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party told the Times of Israel this week that the Trump's re-election as president should be used to nationalize the Tomb of the Patriarchs, which is known as the Cave of the Patriarchs. Our president should have nothing to do with this. This is their fucking problem. This is their area.